All right, so I think, Mr. Chairman, you could probably read the opening statements and then we'll wait for Kelvin to arrive before entering into our first item.
Sounds good. Thank you, Eric. All right, so this is the December 3rd, 2025 meeting, the City of Charleston Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design. Currently present are Paula Summers, George Sneedmuller, myself, Joel Adrian. Present from the staff is Eric Schultz. These proceedings are being recorded. We ask that those who speak identify themselves for the record. We will conduct this meeting in usual fashion. We'll first receive information from city staff about the application and their recommendation. If the recommendation is favorable and no one objects to the application, the matter is uncontested. The board reserves the right to ask questions of staff, applicants, or others in attendance prior to rendering a decision. If, however, the city recommends against the application or there is opposition to the application, we treat the application as contested, hear from the applicant and anyone else who is in favor of the application. Next, we hear from anyone opposed, followed by a short rebuttal from the applicant. We then close the public hearing portion of the meeting for that particular application and open discussion to the Board of Zoning Appeals members only. We will then make a decision to approve with conditions, deny or defer the application. Board of Zoning Appeals Site Design has the authority to do three things. 1, hear appeals to decisions of the zoning administrator. 2, grant special exceptions, a fact-finding function of the board. 3, grant variances to the zoning ordinance if the application meets the hardship test outlined in section 54(9)24 of the ordinance. The board may deliberate and make a final decision on a matter by a majority vote of members present at the hearing and qualified to vote, provided that not less than a quorum are present and qualified to vote. For a variance to be granted, the Board of Appeals must make the following findings. A, there are extraordinary exceptional conditions pertaining to the particular piece of property. B, these conditions do not generally apply to other property in the vicinity. C, because of these conditions, the application of the ordinance to the particular piece of property would effectively prohibit or unreasonably restrict the utilization of the property. And D, the authorization of a variance will not be a substantial detriment to the adjacent property or to the public good. The character of the district would not be harmed by the granting of the variance. And then I think, since we've got a couple of deferrals on minutes, I can probably read through those. Is that right, Eric?
Yeah, you can go ahead.
We don't need to vote on that.
Right.
So item A1, which is review of minutes from August 6th, 2025 meeting. We still do not have a quorum of members present to vote on that, so that item will be deferred. Then item A2, review of minutes from the November 5th, 2025 meeting. We also do not have a quorum that will be present for that item, so that will be deferred as well. Now we will wait. Kelvin. I thought I was late. So I'm sorry. 16.
Yeah. Okay, I remember.
One time I was doing that with my dad and I got on the highway going the wrong way. And probably get paddled back to
You see that car in front of you, slow up.
yeah. Made it home.
Made it home. Parked the truck in the driveway. Down in that driveway. Went very straight, but it was in. Nothing was rubbed. Brake parents are still standing.
Yeah.
Constitute the majority. You figure that math out. Is that 3 make him a majority? Or and he comes from West Ashland. The office is West Ashland. So the bad coming in, all,
I live downtown.
oh, you were downtown.
Yeah,
Uh,
back roads.
so it wasn't
Wasn't bad.
not my route.
I guess there's an event here tonight, so parking's a kind of at a premium.
Yeah. Everyone's flat rate, you can do the garage.
Yeah, I had a funny interaction with the guy. He's like, so the event is $10. I said, I'm on the zoning board. He goes, oh, well, then I got you a zoning ticket.
Here you go. That's the,
Thank you.
what you gotta make sure though is that it's hard to get you to get out of jail free. It has the proper date on it.
Oh, yeah.
The next month we'll get one and it'll be expired. You'll be trying to get out. Not gonna let you out.
I think we're good through the 26th, aren't we?
This one's good through January.
January 7th.
So
Yeah.
January 7th.
All day. Thing.
Yes, I don't know what, expenses.
I just got a text from Christina. She's gonna try and call him.
There, you have to get here in the next 5 minutes, everything's approved.
That would be nice.
I was just about to call myself, but she beat me to it. She must be watching up in her office still.
It's like a dead air out there. We gotta do something.
Why is it so quiet? Where's the panda park?
She rotated off and she's been at like all every meeting except for two.
Yeah.
Did my continuing education stuff last month. And I asked Christina because it had a little form like, when did you start? When were you appointed to the board? I'm like, I don't know. I told her, so 2009.
Yeah, you're like, damn.
Okay. So I better doing this a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
In your 2009, that's your form, like 15 years.
Still,
How many,
say 10, so 16. March, is when my first.
All right, the word is, we got word here basically saying attending spoke with his assistant. He's an attorney. He was not planning to attend, but he said he can come now if everyone can wait. His assistant told me he had this on his calendar. He is at his office, which is West Ashley at Gamecock Avenue. Does everybody want to wait? Yeah. Yes.
Here's the, he needs to relocate that
30
office. What's that?
yeah, it's by
It's Highway 7. It's like,
sports pub and chicken.
Yeah.
area.
30 minutes.
We
Over my laptop.
All or something or?
be okay, Eric, if I step out and make.
Yeah, we'll
have technical issues.
Good. All right, Mr. Chairman, we're good.
Excellent. Again, this is the December 3rd, 2025 meeting, of the Board of Zoning Appeal Site Design, and pleased to let the record show that Calvin Yuji has been able to join the meeting, so we now have our forum. And we will go to item A3. Item A3 is 3097 South Shore Drive, Battery Hague. The TMS is 31000000029. This is zone PUD. And they are requesting a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of one grand tree. Eric.
All right, we're going to take a trip to the West Ashley to a neighborhood by the name of Battery Hague. This is the application. This is their responses to the hardship test. As you can see, it's a vacant lot on South Shore Drive within the plan unit development. This is an aerial shot. You can see the tree in question is pretty much the center tree with the large canopy, live oak. This is a shot from the street. And the site plan is this. We do have a grand tree on basically on the right-of-way line, front left, and then you have the double leader live oak, not quite center, but centrally located on the lot. It does have the critical line as well as a buffer requirement. So as shown, that they're proposing the house to avoid the front tree, driveway to the right, and then the house is a little bit to the right on the lot. This PUD allows a minimum of a 6-foot side setback as shown, and then a 25 front and 25-foot rear. This is just a little bit of a zoom in on the tree. So this letter was not part of the images, but I have it here, and I think it's important that it be read, Mr. Chairman, at your discretion, but I'll continue through the slides. This is the report from the certified arborist. It speaks to girdling roots, stress tears located on the codominant union of the tree, evidence of decay, wet rot, additional areas on the opposing side of the trunk, and then he gives it a grade C. These are shots of the tree submitted by the applicant. So it's kind of unique where the double leader, the angle between the two codominant trunks is front and back on the lot versus side or parallel with the street. You know, live oaks throughout the city, this is not uncommon to have codominantly live oaks. No doubt that there's included bark, but live oak wood is one of the strongest woods tree species. This again is a shot looking into the lot. A couple close-ups. In my opinion, I think a certified arborist could address the girdling roots. I think the tree has enough root system that that one girdling root, maybe the one in the foreground, could be easily severed with nice clean instruments and not pose an issue down the road. And again, I thought that this might be an important shot. I'm not on the property line. The property line is due left of my position taking the photo, but you can see that, and you'll understand further when I present the staff's recommendations, that, you know, I think there is enough building envelope to possibly get a house in there and preserve the tree. So the Battery Hague Homeowners Association, this is a letter saying that they have not given approval to remove the tree. It speaks to the city of Charleston as the deciding authority, but as of right now, they haven't granted approval. This exhibit is, and my next slide is the recommendation, but, you know, with the 25 front and 6 side, I think there's room for study to get enough house on this lot. The city's willing to work with an architect, a certified arborist, to allow some encroachment possibly into the TBZ, the tree protection zone. Still have a tree that will survive and be an asset to the lot. Prior to just stating the city's position, we do have a written comment submitted. Again, I think it would be pertinent to read that into the record. And it is basically in opposition to the request. And the city's recommendation is to deny removal. And then again, as stated, I think just take some time. You know, I don't know if this is a stock home plan but I think a custom house could fit on the lot and preserve the tree.
All right, Eric, thank you. Let me ask, because the letter of opposition mentions that Nicole might be present. Nicole, are you present? You want me to read this, or do you want to present?
You can read that and I can present it.
Okay. All right, very good. So this letter was submitted from Nicole Zell at 3088 South Shore Drive, Charleston 29407. Received December 2nd, 11:54. Good afternoon. I am writing to convey opposition to the removal of a grand tree at 3097 South Shore Drive. I will be appearing in person to speak as well, but wanted to provide supplemental information before the meeting. The removal of the aforementioned grand tree would be detrimental to the Battery Hague neighborhood for several reasons. Environmental impact. The tree contributes significantly to the local ecosystem and prevention of flooding. Many protected avian species such as hawks, bald eagles frequent the tree while hunting, and the grand tree provides vital stormwater mitigation. Aesthetics and culture. Grand trees are a defining cultural feature of the Charleston area and our neighborhood. The tree is a vital part of our neighborhood's beauty and charm. The tree in question was a Battery Hague resident before it was a subdivision. Ordinances. Grand trees are protected in the Low Country for a reason. This grand tree that has weathered other petitions to be removed should not be exempt from that protection. Removal would violate the purpose in which the local tree preservation ordinances were enacted. The Battery Hague Homeowners Association, ARC, has denied the request to remove the tree as well. When the lot was last purchased, November 30th, 2021, for $120,000, the tree was not a sapling. It was already a mature tree. Discovery during the sales due diligence period afforded to all potential buyers would have provided insight regarding the protection of the grand tree and insurmountable hurdles that had previously been faced by other potential buyers interested in developing the lot. As a long-term neighborhood resident, I implore you to please continue to protect this grand tree. Your consideration is much appreciated. Thank you for your time. Thank you. And with the city's recommendation, I'll just ask, is there anybody else present that is opposed to the application like this? Okay, excellent. So we will first hear from the applicant and anyone present that is in favor. So if the applicant's present, it's your turn to go up.
Board Chairman for having me, Scott Stamp from the applicant. To be transparent, I am buying this lot from the Cooks. That's the letter Joel showed earlier. I'm going to build a house for sale, so I'm not living there. Don't want anybody to think that. So what I've done is I've gotten several items, as you saw, the arborist report. I submitted the application, went through the 4 questions everybody knows about. Those 4 questions, I'm just going to go through those now. I think they're important. Can everybody hear me okay, by the way?
Okay.
So the extraordinary and exceptional conditions in this lot, I think it is important because the tree's right in the middle of the lot, and none of the other lots in the neighborhood had that condition. Did they have it 25 years ago? I don't really know. Probably some did and they were cut down. I have no idea. But, the HOA has building requirements for minimum sizes. I don't know if the custom home would meet that, maybe it would. That's why I think it's gonna be difficult, especially with the critical line buffer. Would you mind showing that, the survey again?
Sure.
That buffer actually ended up moving significantly in toward the house, versus the first survey. So I had a survey go out and certify that, and it came in a good bit. So that was one reason for having the house a little smaller footprint there. Let's see, number two, most of the, like I said, most of the neighboring parcels are not encumbered by that, and they're also not encumbered by that, the bigger setback there. So that's something that's, I don't know, it's a little unusual. I'm not sure why. Number three, the restricted use would unreasonably restrict the use of the property. To leave the tree on there. Of course, that's up for debate, I suppose. We can go into that and say, well, we could build a custom home here, you know, the skinnier type home. And by the way, I do appreciate the recommendation, because that's something we don't always think of. Looking at that house, it was difficult to determine exactly, what it would look like. But it looks like it'd be about 20 feet wide on the sliver on the side there. And then there'd be a part that comes out the front over there. I think that would fit within the setbacks.
I think that's what he's drawing.
Yeah, the red drawing, the red lines. So that's, I think that would fit. It doesn't have the stairs or anything in there. But that, frankly, that's a custom home. That's gonna be, again, fully engineered architect, the whole thing. We see that a lot in downtown. We see that a lot. Old Village, Mount Pleasant. And I mean, frankly, that's not this neighborhood, to do that. Additionally, I think if I'm there living there, that tree in the middle of my house, it's gonna block most of the view. So the marsh is at the north, I guess, or maybe I'm not sure. Looking out the side, the back, that's the marsh view. So the tree's gonna block most of that. In addition, you're gonna have a large tree that's still growing essentially next to your house. And perhaps it could be saved, as Mr. Schultz said, based on the C rating. I certainly can't argue with that. But I don't know what happens long term there. So that's one reason I don't like the plan of having the tree in the middle there. So that was number three. And then yeah, so number four, this goes back to the owner's letter. The owners, Mr. and Ms. Cook, they're retired. I think they're in an assisted living facility. I can't verify that. I'm not really sure. That's why they live in Georgia, apparently. So when they bought this lot, I don't know if they knew about it. It was in 2021, referencing the letter, the opposition letter. In 2021, a lot of people didn't do due diligence, so I don't know if they did. I'm doing it today, of course, but I don't know what they did back then. As far as again, flooding issues, this is a planned neighborhood approved by the city of Charleston. It has flood mitigation in process. This lot is not a drainage area for that neighborhood. It's from what I can tell. I've checked, I didn't see it, so the surveyor. So I definitely appreciate those comments, but I don't think that's what the lot is intended to be used for, storm mitigation. So just wanted to make sure we all understand that. Other than that, we didn't get any other opposition. The HOA comment, we were told that was a comment from the HOA saying, we will follow the city of Charleston's recommendation.
No.
No. You may let her speak now, or?
No, she'll have it.
Okay. So obviously we can hear more comments. I don't have any other comments except for that letter. Certainly like to hear that. That'd be important to me too. Unfortunately, I did not receive the opposition letter beforehand to talk to them about it. We did reach out to the neighbors. So I think that's all I had. Again, Mr. and Ms. Cook, they want to sell this lot, send that letter because it's part of their retirement. That may not matter. I'm just throwing it out there. They genuinely, from what I can tell, and my agent can tell, did not know about a codominant tree. Frankly, before I got in this business, I didn't know what that was either. Two trees that grow together. Most people don't think that's grand. Under our current rules, it is. So they didn't know that. I think that's probably why they didn't even think about it when they bought it. And now they're concerned that they're gonna not be able to sell it for what they want to sell. That's it. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. Is there anybody else present that wants to speak in favor of the application? And we'll open it up to those that are opposed.
Well, hey, y'all, my name's Chris Hamilton. I live at 3099 Southwood Drive. I'm a Bride area. We're that beautiful yellow house right next door to the property. It's also a full house, so. We see it a lot every day, and actually the folks that own it now, I've met, and then their children also that lived in the house adjacent or right across from the lot from me. We've met and been on that property a ton of times. You know, sharing stories, holidays, whatever. And we've all known exactly where that tree is as we stood under it many, many times. The folks that used to own my house owned that property, the property in question that they're looking at getting this variance for. And they got it because they were worried about that tree as well. And the prior time that they had this conference here, they had two arborists that looked at that property and came to the same conclusion about denying removing that tree, which prevented another sale of the property before. When we were looking at buying our house, I remember getting into a discussion with the prior homeowners and my neighbors. We talked about this lot and talked and openly discussed about how the tree couldn't be removed because of all of the life that it supports. This is right on like that section in West Ashley where they were going to build the 526 bridge. And we all voted for in South Carolina not to preserve the wetlands and everything. And you can see all of that marsh. I know that it was mentioned that the neighborhood doesn't have a lot of oaks that are like central to it, but even to get to this lot, the neighborhood's it's a one street kind of neighborhood with one entrance, right? So you have to like drive through this peninsula to get to this lot. And even on there's 2 or 3 other properties right in the front that have oak trees right in the front yard that they had to like split the driveway to just go around and get to the house and get that tree up there. So it's pretty big for our community. Even this lot specifically, Bob and Amy that owned that beautiful yellow house before me, they used to hold like little miniature like fish style concerts, getting out in the front yard and doing a public like neighborhood community thing, get together. And everybody's known about that tree in the neighborhood. It's been there for the last 15 plus years. So I don't feel like it's quite honest to say that they didn't know about that. And that, like I said, met with them on the property before. To comment for the the different types of animals and all that stuff that use that tree and everything. And I've seen everything from possums to squirrels to the eagles that were mentioned from Nicole's letter, tons of hawks. I watched a hawk go after a bunny, literally just a couple of months ago. And while it was tragic, it was part of nature. So even in this shot right here, you can see that marsh right behind the house. And really, if that voted passed, there'd be a bridge get built right back there right now too. But if you build that house off to the left, you can still get plenty of more views, in my opinion. So I think that keeping the tree in there is a great idea for the neighborhood and for nature and making sure that we retain the look and feel of Charleston and the Oaks area. So anyway, thank you, Chairman. Thanks, y'all.
Hey, quick question for you.
Fire away.
Do you know the width of your house?
Oh.
16 feet?
Well, sir, yeah, probably. So there's 2 windows on the top. That's just one room. So, it's enough for
15, 16?
I'm not supposed to call it a trailer on stilts. I don't know about that.
We call it on a single house. Okay. All right. Thank you.
Can't guarantee I'm gonna stay at this podium. My name is Nicole Zell. I am a professor of education at CFC, so I move around a lot. I apologize in advance. First, I want to present you guys with a letter of opposition from all the adjacent neighbors to the lot. Funny story, the other cooks who just sold the house beside the vacant lot, they just sold their house to someone else and actually just met them today. And she wished she could have gotten it on that letter because she doesn't want it removed either. But the other cooks bought, the older cooks bought the lot to be a side lot for their children's house. So to say that they didn't know about the tree is very dishonest. This is not a disjointed sale. This was very much a family who bought the house and the lot together. If you give us a couple days, we could probably come up with a text message from Bob Haley saying, we'll sell you the lot if you don't cut down the tree. But $130,000 profit will do a lot to make you want to cut down the tree. Couple things. There are so many lots in our neighborhood that have to build around the Grand Oaks. It's insane. And as a matter of fact, our HOA president was going to buy the lot in question and pulled back because that tree cannot be removed. So if it couldn't be removed then, I'm not sure why it would be allowed to be removed now. When instead of a dream house being built, a spec house for a developer is being built. So a tree that has history, that my child who is 12 has grown up since he was 3, playing under this tree, seeing this tree, watching this tree mature, that doesn't really feel right. A couple other things. I sit on the ARC committee. When the application was denied, we stated that we cannot go around the city of Charleston's recommendations, not that we would agree to the city of Charleston's recommendations. City of Charleston is the governing authority. We're not going to say, yep, you can take down this tree without you saying you can take down this tree. So that was the reasoning behind that. Also, as an ARC member, I have not seen any requests for a variance as far as the aesthetics of the house, what the house would look like from an HOA perspective, any of the setbacks, whatever, you know, all of those types of issues. We have not gotten any requests for variances for that. Let's see, I think there are a couple more. And like I said, we're lifers. We're not just gonna come in and mow some trees down and leave. We're here for the rest of our lives. And that tree is a very, very important part of our neighborhood. And my kid, who's too embarrassed to come up here and tell you, to be the Lorax and not the Once-ler, and please save our tree. Thank you.
0. Anybody else present that is opposed? Eric, do you want me to read this in as well?
They've referenced it, if you.
Sure, it's the letter that was provided, Battery Hague neighborhoods.
It's a 2-pager. Oh, that,
No.
oh, that, oh, yes, I'm sorry.
The Battery Hague neighborhood, our neighbors. Says the adjacent neighbors, 3097 South Shore Drive, both anterior and lateral, are writing to formally express our strong opposition to the removal of the grand oak tree located at 3097 South Shore Drive. We are long-term residents of Battery Hague and intimately understand the history and significance of the grand tree in question. The removal of the grand tree would be a great detriment to our neighborhood. We kindly request that the BZA adhere to the grand tree protection ordinance and deny the requested removal of the grand tree at 3097 South Shore Drive. Thank you for your consideration. And it's Nicole Brandon Zell, then 3088 South Shore Drive, then Chris and Amber Hamilton, 3099 South Shore Drive, Al Seals is at 3080 South Shore Drive, and then Jason and Sarah Coker at 3080 South Shore Drive. And there's nobody else in opposition. The applicant has the right to a rebuttal if there's anything else you'd like to say. All right, then we'll close the public portion of the meeting and be open to the board for questions or a discussion. And Scott, if I could ask you to come up, I do have a question for you.
Sure.
So you had referenced HOA minimum sizes for homes. Do you know what that minimum size is?
2,000, I believe,
2,000
square feet. Pretty sure that's correct.
Eric, do you put your drawing up there? So, and obviously, there's nothing that we've got as far as perfect scale. But you're looking at the width of this, it's almost 25 feet. You look at the depth of that, you're probably close to that same number. We got 60 feet of width. If you took 15 feet off, you're left with 45. 24, 45 is just over 1,000 square feet. So just that front mass could potentially get you there. So I think that there's certainly ways to design around that tree, especially if the city is willing, and I'm certain that they would be willing to work with you on potential encroachment here. This width, looking at the diagram, is probably close to 16 feet, which I think is probably the width of the adjacent house. I live in a 16-foot wide house. And then I think, Eric, if you go back to the actual site plan, because there's still room in the back, you know, that porch could be put, and then that view could open up again before you get to the critical line setback that's required back there. Now, it might, you know, there could be front porch, there could be some stuff that comes out of that front mass, but I think that there is certainly an opportunity to work a plan that could go around the tree. Yes, it'll cost you more. You got to pay a structural engineer for structural engineering on the other plan. So you can invest in an architect. Anybody else?
I think it's pretty straightforward. I make a motion,
Oh, thank you, Scott.
Thank you.
I make a motion to deny the application. And take into consideration city's staff's comments.
So there's Wallace, where's this motion? Freaking Nile, is there a second to her motion? No, one's gonna second that motion. So all in favor of denial?
I'm in favor.
Any opposed? Motion is denied, or the application is denied. Thank you. All right, so our next item is gonna be item B1, and that is 2925 Maybank Highway. And it's on Johns Island. The TMS number is 313-00-000-089. Apologize, there's several TMS numbers. The other ones end in 091, 092, 198, 274, and 275. It is zoned PUD. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 living trees. Request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 4 grand trees. Request a variance from section 54-330 to allow a reduction in the impervious construction setback near the base of 8 grand trees.
Mr. Chairman, the application is being modified. Request number 3 will be deferred at the election of the applicant due to some staff comments and discussions. So we will deal with the removal of the 6 grand trees. This is the application for the neighborhood, or the PUD known to the city as Jubilee. It's been in front of the public numerous times. It had to get rezoned, and it's the PUD is the Jubilee. You can see here it's adjacent to another PUD, so it's kind of confusing, but it's plan right of the RO zone property in the center of the purple there. And then I have the what is the assemblage of numerous TMS numbers basically shown there in green. Aerial shot. One parcel was used as like an equestrian kind of farmette, if you will, and then there was a house on some other lots with the canopy cover. This is a shot of one of the parcels. The existing house has been abandoned, and street shot. And take note of the live oak in front of that house. it's going to be preserved. So this is the overall layout plan for the first phase. The PUD allows for a small boutique hotel to be built on the property. That will be more upfront in the area that you don't really see any proposed improvements. The cottage development along with the food and beverage restaurant is basically phase one in conjunction with public roads. The streets will be public, and the parking is outside. The angled parking that you see will be in an easement adjacent to the public right away. So that's the overall front half, if you will, and then it does extend back and has frontage on Cane Slash. The southern end, if you will be primarily stormwater facility. So we're dealing with the grand trees tonight. We have two that were staff level approvals. One was the elm, the purple tree out front adjacent to Maybank. And then we have a Chinaberry, which is a very invasive tree. The staff declares them as SFs. We got to eradicate the invasive species. So we're dealing with 2 red maple and 3 water oak and 1 black cherry. And I'll kind of go through those as we move forward here. So the red maple is tree number 12 adjacent to the live oak. At one point, the entry was further to the left along that common property line. After both Matt, Eliana, and I spent a good hour plus with the applicant in the field, that live oak tree number 11 contributes, really has a major contribution to the Maybank Highway corridor. So we shifted the driveway, which was also able to preserve tree number 15, which is a sycamore. Tree number 3 is the elm. Tree number 2 is a red maple, which you'll see a double leader. This just moves further back. Tree number 24 was discovered to be a triple black cherry with a lot of debris from the old farmhouse that once sat there at the base, and not a very high quality tree. Tree number 9 is a water oak. As we move further back, tree 36 is a water oak. And then, of course, the 45 is the Chinaberry staff level approval. The applicant and their team had natural directions go out and grade the trees and evaluate their conditions. So you had the 2 Fs, the red oak and a couple live oaks are not in play tonight. They're being preserved. Higher quality trees. I just zoomed in on their list of trees here again. So you had the 2 variants, the red maples, 3 water oak, and the black cherry. And then, of course, we're deferring the small impacts to as designed today, that be deferred. Red maple to your left, tree number 6. We don't need the, I think that may be the water oak. I forgot the numbering. We can go back and visit those numbers if you want. So staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 108.75 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. There shall be no monetary contribution option. So we'll reforest the development. Must preserve the live oak cluster shown in the F&B area. I'll go back and visit that just to explain that. Must provide 4-foot chain link fence as tree protection barricades. Must provide a tree preservation plan for the grand trees to be preserved on the project site. And then must provide a tree mitigation plan for staff review and approval. So if we go back and visit site plan right here. You see building D restaurant with covered outdoor dining and another restaurant, going to be kind of a neat little setting. We've seen this at preliminary TRC and some grading prelim, but when we were in the field, we discovered that there are non-grant trees, those smaller blue circles are, it's like a cluster. It's just a wonderful little cluster of live oak. And the water oak was actually being preserved at the time, and it was in pretty sad shape. So we discussed let's give those let's save all the live oaks in the cluster in that courtyard area and sacrifice the water oak. So, and then the black cherry is succumbed to some grading issues and what have you there, plus the quality of the tree. So that's where that condition comes from.
Eric, thank you. Is there anybody present that is opposed to this application other than the written?
Yes, there is. Yeah, so I wanted to remind you that there is one written comment.
Nobody present is opposed? Is the applicant present? It's your time to present. And if I could, I'd just let you know, like, as I've read through this, that the opposition is not about the tree removal, it's about a road.
Okay.
That's presented so much. I don't know if we can speak to, maybe I should read this first.
Yeah, because I have no idea what that
Maybe
letter
that's
says.
where I'll go out of order just a little bit, but
Sure.
this is from Chad Dennis, 2901 Maybank Highway. Says, I own 2901, 2905, 2909 Maybank Highway, and am concerned about the Jubilee plans. It appears they have a road that runs parallel to Maybank and Cane/Slash Road in between. My concern is where the road ends. I don't want a road going through my properties or dumping out into my parking lot. This would destroy my property values if this road goes through any of my properties. I only have 4.2 acres, and adding a road and expanding Maybank would cut that in half with all the setbacks. I'm writing in to ask that you put an end to this road without a plan. It has no end and is not shown to help any traffic in any way, and I would know. I live at 3351 River Landing Road, Johns Island, South Carolina 29455. Took me 10 years to build that restaurant, which I annexed to the city of Charleston. I'm doing my part to help develop the area and would appreciate if the city council would take all of this into consideration when planning this area. Other than that, other than the concerns I have listed, I have no problem with the Jubilee, just the road.
So I'll jump in there. I responded to Mr. Dennis.
Okay.
The PUD went through a very vigorous process. The Johns Island Community Plan calls for a network of alternative means of getting across the island. They're basically red lines on a map. But as every development comes in, we work with the applicants to get what could be, and planning, we plan 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 years down the road. It's going to take time, but if I go back to the aerial, when the Blue Road was, Wilkes Battery was built between Maybank and Cane/Slash, there was a stub out created where you see Felber Lane. And we worked with that developer of the medical office building to, at the time, he didn't want to go through the lengths in the process to do a public road, but we have a public access easement across his property that would tie into Jubilee. So that's kind of being adhered to on the west side, where you see the crossroad on the site plan here. Road that kind of parallels Maybank. It does just stub out to a property line. But again, it was required by the city. Basically, we have a connectivity ordinance, and we don't know what the future holds 5, 10, 15 years down the road. But that's the goal, is to have an alternative grid, so not everybody would have to traverse Maybank Highway.
Thank you, Eric. I guess I just wanted to bring that up because it didn't seem like he has any opposition to the removal of the trees. Whereas the road, so it seems like it's actually a different board, a different place that needs to be discussed. But
Yeah, that was 2 years ago. My name is Todd Richardson. I'm a landscape architect and principal with Synchronicity. We're at 69 Morris Street downtown. Thank you for hearing us, Mr. Chairman, board, and Eric, and everyone else playing along at home. Jubilee is a fantastic project for Johns Island, for Johns Islanders. We're happy to be here. We've been working on this project for, I believe, 4 years now. It's a very long but intentional process, and this is one of them. The great thing about Jubilee, just to allude to the road, it is also a transit solution as much as it is a zoning solution to help Charleston turn those red lines into reality. In doing that parallel network, as well as connecting to Cane Slash, helping to connect across to the new fire stations, Alaska Road, and of course, the much needed hospital that is under construction. So yes, for us tonight with Jubilee, we're dealing with trees that are in poor condition. So C's, D's, and F's. It's great, always working with Eric, because when we walk the site, we find alternative solutions and some surprises. And we really have very good discussions about, do we keep, do we take out, do we mitigate, what can we do? We are always in the position where we're trying to save all the trees, as many as we can. The water oak and the food court is an excellent example. It's not in great shape, but we were going to do what we could to save it. But we felt it was actually better to sacrifice that and preserve and actually take away building footprint and save more of those live oaks there, because we want those. That's important. It's not only preserving nature but culture of the island. So we're in agreement of all the recommendations that staff has. So we appreciate Eric in that process. And I'll be happy to answer any questions if you have any of me, but we are fully accepting of the conditions as presented.
Wonderful, thank you. Anybody else present that wants to speak in favor? We'll pose this application to the public and be open to the board for discussion, questions, or a motion. Well, I think the application is just well put together. Pictures are worth 1,000 words. Seeing the issues with the removals, I do really love the fact that the conversation took place to remove the water oak and save the cluster of live oak. So
Yep, it's a good example of developer working with the city. I do have a question about the road that goes to Cane Slash. Is that like a one-way lane, or what's the situation there?
So it's a little deceiving, maybe. That's a path, pedestrian
Okay.
path.
It's a multi-use trail.
Yeah.
Yes. So there's no connectivity. This is a very funky parcel. I always get the funky ones. I never get simple squares or rectangles. And so we felt it was important to connect to our friends on Cane Slash. It picks up the folks at the apartments as well as several hundred rooftops that access Cane Slash. Our future goals, just to let you know, is we have Grover, which comes in here. We're trying to, and we've written it into the PUD, to interconnect Grover in the future and actually bring it up and change the direction of this road. There's an intersection right here, and the name escapes me, Eric. Anyway, providing more transit connectivity, and that's going to bring everyone in with a car and a golf cart possibility. But we do have a multi-use trail that dead ends into Grover right now to do just that. So we'll get them to Maybank. We'll also get them to be able to come into the Jubilee Road Network.
It was deceiving.
Do you have any thoughts on where those mitigation trees would go? And it looks like there's a lot of open land. I just was curious, and like sizes or types of trees, or maybe you hadn't gotten that far ahead yet. I'm just curious.
We're gonna take a good look at that and be very intentional. We do have some open spaces. It's about framing those, I think, correctly, because we do want to have we have bungalow courts effectively, and we want to try to line those with trees. So that's a great place for mitigation trees to go, but not completely to fill them. We also have a hotel parcel in the future that we can look at. We're gonna need some trees there too. But we've anticipated this, to your question. And our goal is to plant everything on site. We're trying really hard to spend those inches and dollars on site and not into the tree bank. Not that the tree bank isn't worthy, but we want to recharge the site for what is being.
I'll make a motion for approval with staff comments.
All right, motion for approval by George. Is there a second to George's motion? Kelvin with the second. All in favor?
I am in favor.
Aye in favor. Any opposed? Motion's approved 4-0. Thank you. Our next item is gonna be item B2. And that is 103, 105, 107 Cannon Street and 209 Rutledge Avenue. Cannon Borough, Elliott Borough. TMS numbers are 460-15-02-003, 004, 005, 006, and 163. This is zone PUD. Request a variance from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 1 grand tree. And request a special exception from section 54-327 to allow the removal of 2 grand trees.
All right, we're making a trip down to downtown to the corner of Rutledge and Cannon. It does have an easement that comes off of Ashley. Yes, Ashley Ave. Here's the application. Again, this went through a rigorous rezoning process recently here with the city. This whole area, as you know, is changing with infill development, and we've had a couple unsightly surface parking lots that do have trees on them, and trees are important, but also good urban development and design is important to the city as well. Anyway, it got rezoned to a planned unit development, I think known as Pioneer Alley. So just north of what was that famous restaurant? The Homily Grill. There's a surface parking lot, and then the surface parking lot and between 210 and 208 actually is an access easement into the development into the PUD. So the Sycamore is on the west side of the long linear parking, and then on the south side of the corner surface lot, and then the Laurel Oak is about where the bus stop sign is. This is just a view into it, the Laurel Oak being on the left, the 1D grade Sycamore down the property line there to the south. So the PUD is a mixed use PUD, obviously, by state law. Restaurant on the corner, and then you'll have a variety of different housing topologies on the north-south portion of the PUD and the east-west portion where the access easement out to Ashley. So again, 2 D grade trees and 1 C grade sycamore. Again, natural directions, an evaluation. The sycamore is a codominant about 5 feet from the base. The 47-inch sycamore is a singular trunk, but it's got a cavity in the base and some signs of decay in the crown and some dieback. And then the laurel oak is basically 2 stems very tightly hugging each other, basically included bark. And it's got 4 branch structure. It leans towards Cannon Street. These are the applicant's pictures. There's the sycamore with a fairly large cavity in the base, and then you can see dieback and another cavity up in the upper crown or upper trunk. Codominant, it's been parked over, damage to the roots, kind of been abused. But again, the sycamore is a low land tree, bottom land tree. You see it growing along streams and rivers, and so it's tolerant to, you know, some abuse. But again, and then the laurel oak, as you can see, basically 2 stems joined for a few feet above grade. It's not, its name isn't Gregory. There you go. Here's another one. It leans. And then there is a fourth tree, but that's a camphor tree, which is in the top 10 of the invasive species list again. Not native to South Carolina. So we declare that as an F. That's on the, so that's not in consideration, staff level approval. He just wrote up a little blurb about the camphor tree. City photos, again, that lean toward Cannon Street over top of the existing bus stop. Then with no leaves, the canopy, the decay cavity in the upper trunk, and then the base. And then this tree, I believe possibly the left stem there was a breakout, and you can kind of see where the stem is pretty stout, and then it kind of terminates into 3 or 4 little water sprouts. So I really couldn't see any, but I suspect that broke out at one point in time. Staff recommends approval with the condition to plant 61.5 caliber inches of native canopy trees on. Now, this will be tight due to parking, structures, limited space. So in this case, some residual inches could be in the form of a contribution to the city street tree program. Must provide a tree mitigation plan for staff review. And that, I think in this case, and I think the owner, the applicant or the client has done some of this in the years past that maybe demonstrate a good faith effort to repurpose the wood in lieu of just having it landfilled.
All right, thank you. Is there anybody present that is opposed to this application? Since no one's opposed, is the applicant present? Would you like to be heard?
Good evening. My name is Todd Richardson, landscape architect for the project, principal with Synchronicity, and I am not responsible for the Omni Grill closing. I just wanted to make sure this had nothing to do with that. My mother's upset; she can't have their famous chocolate pudding. But this is a really great project. One thing that Eric didn't mention, but we're really proud of, is it provides 20% workforce housing, which is really needed in Canterbury, Lateboro, along with small scale neighborhood office and neighborhood retail, providing the ability for folks to build some generational wealth at multiple levels. So we're really excited about that. It's a great contributor to the corridor and to the neighborhood. We've worked in this area for almost 20 years. I forgot to include also, we had a letter of support from the Canterbury-Elleboro Neighborhood Association for the removal of these trees, along with our approval of the PUD. So the neighborhood is in support of this as well. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you may have.
Okay, thank you. We will close this application. I'm sorry, anybody else present that wants to speak in favor? Close the application to the public and be open to the board now for discussion or a motion.
I think with the support of the neighborhood association and the quality of the trees, it makes sense to approve staff's recommendations. So I'll make a motion for approval of staff's recommendations.
All right, so motion by Paula. Is there a second to Paula's motion? Calvin got a second again. He's on a roll. All right, so motion for approval with staff conditions. All in favor of that motion?
I
Aye. And that motion is approved 4-0. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, we'll move on to item B3, which is 295 Calhoun Street, Charleston Village. The TMS 45702020001, zoned MU-1 and WH. Request a variant from section 54.329 to allow the removal of 4 protected trees within 25 feet of the property line. Eric?
All right, Calhoun Street, West End. This is the application. MU1 workforce housing zoning at the corner of Halsey and Calhoun. And the property line abuts Lake Alberta. And there used to be a medical office building on it. Today, there's nothing but a foundation. So this is when the building existed with the parking lot to the south. So the 4 trees are basically on the Halsey and the southern property line. There's one parking lot just between the 2 red Jersey barriers there that's near the lake, and then 3 on Halsey. Again, another view of the conditions. So crepe myrtles, as you know, they're a dime a dozen, and you know, they're just crepes, and the city doesn't go aggressive over crepes. So the live oaks are of size to be protected, and then the green X's are just naturalized sable palmetto trees, which can be easily transplanted and relocated. But the 4, so you can see this is a unique project in the sense that it's a residential project with possibly a little bit of promenade retail on the lakeside, but why the gray line that goes all the way across to 4th Street? Well, that's a planned fire lane, and then also would become a public amenity. So it would be like a raised promenade over the lake to act as a means to get east-west and just enjoy the lake at a pedestrian scale, and then also as the acting fire lane. So here it is. Basically, it's a parking deck with residential units, lobby, ingress, egress, exceptional bike room, etc. And then the residential component above, obviously. But you can see that if you've been following this, it has a height limit, and I think, to be quite frank, the BAR and some other issues came to adding additional floors. So when you can't get that, you kind of squish the parking deck a little bit and bring it down. So it kind of increased the footprint of the building, and it will go through BAR. But I think if anything, any building that of a residential scale to happen on this lot, and with the fire lane, the 4 trees would be in jeopardy. So they're not in the best shape as well because of the pruning that has occurred over top. And so staff is prepared to recommend approval with the condition that in this case, they're protected trees. So it's 2.5 inch trees per tree. So a total of 5, 20 caliber inches of native canopy trees to be planted on the site. Again, it's tight. If they can't do a really good, make a good effort to get those canopy trees back on site in some form, then a contribution to the city street tree program. Relocate the palms on site, and if again they can't fit whatever number there are, 8 or 9, then they would make an equivalent monetary contribution to the city street tree for those trees. And I'm not sure the going cost of a palm. A 2.5 inch tree, the contribution is $295. We'd have to confirm the price with the Parks Department for a palm tree, and they can plant additional palms throughout the city, and then provide a tree mitigation plan for staff review and approval.
All right, Eric, thank you. Anybody present that is opposed to this application? The applicant president would like to be heard.
But I really don't have any comment.
Come on.
Okay.
Please state your name.
I'm the president for Thomas and Hunt Engineering.
All right.
And yeah, we're working closely with the city. We're doing some improvements around the lake also involved in this project. And so I think some of those palms may end up being transplanted around the lake. That's planned. If not, then we'll make the mitigation to the mitigation bank. So that's all.
Excellent. Got a question for you.
Okay.
The trees that are coming out, do we have sizes on those that are protected? So I don't know that we said.
I think they range from 14 to 19. They're on the plan. So that's an 11, 15. So that's a 19 and another 15. Blurry, but
60 inches. Okay. Thank you.
thank you guys.
We'll close this application to the public. It'll be open to the board for any questions or discussion. I don't see an issue. I wonder if, should we bump up the mitigation? I know they're protected trees, but you got roughly 60 inches of tree that's coming out. Or back, I wouldn't say go 1-to-1, but the mitigation increases. But if not, I'm fine with the application.
What does the ordinance say? Is it a third?
Yeah, the ordinance dictates that an approved protected tree to be removed is replaced with 2.5 inch trees, so 5 inches.
Mhm,
That's how I got to 20.
mhm.
And again, it's not,
There's really no room on the site for them anyways. I think that would be better for the site if there was room for more trees, but you're just basically increasing the feet of the
city.
city, yeah. I think those trees are getting butchered by the power line arborists anyways, so it's kind of nice to not have that eyesore.
These are supposed to be these. So. All right. Are there any questions for the applicant or is there a motion?
I'll make a motion to approve
Motion by Calvin for
I will
approval
second.
with,
Oh, I'm
with
sorry.
staff recommendation.
with staff recommendations and the second by Paula.
Yes,
All right, so all in favor of the motion for approval?
I'm in favor.
In favor, it's approved. Thank you. 4-0. All right, we'll move along. We're at item B4. Item B4 is 1820 Wallace School Road, West Ashley, the TMS number 35110000099, zoned LB. Request a variance from section 54-347 to reduce type B buffer widths, 15 feet required. Eric?
Trip to West Ashley, this is the application. Again, we're dealing with Wallace School Road. That little blue dot is the 1820. Interesting fact about this lot is look at the shape towards the north, if you will. And then the existing professional office building, 1812. They have a parking lot due east, but then it wraps around onto 1820. And therefore there's a access easement in place. So the proposed project, there's the aerial. And we noted the trees in the front portion of the lot. And then we learned, and you'll see in a minute, that they were removed without city, the city's blessing. So we'll address that with the conditions, but here's the aerial shot or the street shot. So interesting little small residential infill, kind of in the center inside I-526. Maybe you could view it as the missing middle housing. So townhouse configuration, but utilizing the existing parking lot to the north. And provide a sidewalk from Wallace School across the stoops, although not fully designed, would face the west and have a sidewalk to tie into the parking lot, and then a little bit of a greater and will be landscaped backyard against the professional office building. There's a drainage easement as well out front. You can see. Just threw in these shots. These kind of show the 15-foot. So what happens here, and maybe this will be fixed with the zoning rewrite, but it is what we have today. When you have multifamily as the principal use against adjacent GB zoning, suburban style landscape buffer kicks in to help screen or protect the residents, right? So, but, well. So I just zoomed in on this so you can see very small encroachment, on the east side. The residential structures would take a foot or two out of that 15 foot. And then the parking lot, when, when you develop new, you're to bring the whole site up to code, so you can see the cross hatching in the existing parking lot. That would be otherwise landscape, but here's the overall. There's the stumps. We had our zoning code enforcement officer run out there, and lo and behold, they didn't grind the stumps. So we had stump evidence and we made them aware of it. And in lieu of going to court or coming here for an after the fact, we just take care of it in our conditions. So staff recommends approval with the condition to provide a robust landscape plan developed by a landscape architect using native plant material for the buffer areas to be approved by staff. Obviously, the buffer areas outside of the existing improvement and the proposed improvement, and then make a monetary contribution to the city street tree program in the form of $4,720. So again, protect the tree. If it went through the process, it would be 5 inches. That'd be 20 inches. I don't think it was necessarily, let's cut these trees down and get away with it. So I doubled it. The ordinance can get 10 times the DBH inches removed, but in this case, protect the trees. So 40 inches divided by 2.5, that's 16 trees at $295. So that's how I came up with the 4720.
Eric, thank you. Anybody present that's opposed to this application? Is the applicant present?
Applicant Davis McNair Design and Development, here to answer any questions. And there was no foul play with the removal of the trees. It was misguidance from an arborist, but we're willing to work with the city to make it right with the proposed landscape buffer or reduced buffer.
Thank you. Seeing that there's nobody opposed, we'll close the public portion of the meeting and open it up to the board for discussion or a motion. I mean, the buffer seems, parking lot is there. And it's been there, and then the reduction of the actual 15 foot is so minimal. I don't know if there's any real issues with that. Appears to me that Eric has put a nice little slap on the wrist with the second item.
What was I know that you said that was a miscommunication. What was the reason for the tree removals?
It was prior to my involvement with this project. I think he was just looking to clear the site at one point to do a dentist office, veterinary office. And the guidance he received from the tree consultant was no issues. I believe 2 were a pine.
Actually, 3 pine, 1's sweet gum.
You just thought like they're not grand trees, you can take them out.
Yeah. He's willing to work with the city, just misunderstand.
2 pine trees and a gum, that's pretty good.
I'll make a motion for approval with staff comments.
All right, so motion for approval by George. Is there a second to that motion? And seconded by
second.
Paula. All right, we'll go to the vote. All in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye. Any opposed? None are opposed. It's approved 4-0. Thank you. Which will bring us to item B5, the last but not least item. 158 Spring Street, Cannonboro, Elliottboro. TMS number is 46011020088. It is zoned DR2F. Requested variance from section 54-327 to omit the 15 protected trees per acre requirement. Eric?
For a couple of you, this may be familiar. It was heard probably very late 2022 or 2023. I can't remember. Actually, 23, I think. Anyway, here's the application for 158 Spring, and it's actually the address, there's been a lot going on this, and I'll explain a little bit with property line abandonment and reconfiguration. Anyway, application overview, applicant Colin Colbert. Again, in the previous approval, the main lot kind of 461102-127, I do not think included unit B and unit A. That was a separate lot off of Rosemont. There was just a small little bit of frontage on Rosemont. And then 158, I think, incorporated what you see as that little flag pole coming out to Spring. And that was an easement, but now it's part of this lot. And it's all been through plat review and what have you. So that's the lot, which equals about 0.59 acres now. Here's the aerial view, a humongous live oak in the upper northwest corner, and then a lot of volunteer trees south of 5 Rosemont. And then we actually took out a fairly large water oak at 154 there after a pretty in-depth evaluation of was ready to crush those houses to the west if it were to fail. So there's the access off of Rosemont, if you will, and the applicant has actually restored the 2 Freeman cottages. That was a dead Chinaberry in front, which I approved. And then 158 has been renovated, a beautiful garden out front, and then the access, as you see there in the driveway, will still be used for this development. So 0.59 acres equals 9 trees to be preserved. There they are. There's the big live oak, which is being managed and treated by Bartlett tree experts. You can see where the lot B 11.5 St. Philip Street property line has been abandoned and 2 Freeman cottages been restored. You can kind of see the old configuration of lot lines. However, in the back, if you do recall, for those that were here, it was one large building with residential above and park under, kind of a big rectangular building. Well, the market, changes ideas and what have you. And so the applicant's coming through with detached structures with a common court driveway, if you will, and necessary parking, and providing the green space as you see around the large live oak and some residual areas. So obviously the units H, I, and J is where the cluster of protected trees are. I couldn't find my photo, but if you remember, it had the tree growing out of the front of the old 1930, 40 tow truck. I remember I showed you all that. It was fascinating. But anyway, here we are. New plan, new concept. So it's back in front of you all. Keep in mind, unit A and B is on a separate parcel. So that's going through TRC in a different manner, but it's really the northern portion. Bartlett tree experts talk about the 9 laurel oaks. Photographs. I think there you can see in the upper left, example 1, you can see the tow truck, old historic tow truck with the tree growing up through the engine. There it is. My photo in the last presentation was better.
Yes, it was much more interesting.
But I remember, anyway, these were engulfed in vine prior to trying to clean up the site. It was obviously a repair shop at one time, and a lot of debris, tires, rims, what have you back there. That's what you see today. chain link fence in place for the large live oak already. Staff recommends approval. This varies a little bit different because, the plan has changed. So must plant 40 caliber inches of native canopy trees on the project site. Must provide 4-foot chain link fences, tree protection barricade. Must continue to have Bartlett tree expert manage the live oak pre, during, and post construction. Must stake out the structures adjacent to the live oak and have a meeting on site with staff and Bartlett tree expert just to verify that there will be no adverse effects to that tree. And must maintain the green space as depicted on the site plan.
All right, Eric, thank you. Anybody opposed? Applicant present?
Hi, I'm Colin Colbert with CKC Properties. We've been here before to present this. The same principles are in play as they were on the last previous approval land extension. The reason this was broken down into more dwelling units rather than one large parcel was not necessarily market driven, but more driven by input from neighbors and city to see, more court-like development here. I guess I have one question. I haven't seen the comments from Eric previously, but it looks like you've doubled the caliper inches required to be replaced on site. Am I reading that?
Yeah, so today your lot size is 0.59. And that requires 9 trees to be maintained. And you have 9 trees, including the live oak. I think there's 8 protected trees to be
Okay.
removed.
So as the plat expanded, the
Yep.
requirements expanded.
Yep.
Are we allowed, if this were to be approved with your comments, are we allowed to pay into the tree program for that, or they have?
I'd like to, as my condition, I'd like you to attempt a plan with the trees on site. Obviously, it will be tight, but then we can work with you, yes, on contribution to the. So I guess I should say maybe modify number 1, plant 40 caliber inches with a landscape plan be approved by staff, and if there's residual inches, that could be made into a contribution to the city street.
That's all I have to say. If you guys have any questions, I'm here.
Thank you. Since no one's opposed, we'll close the application to the public and be open to the board discussion. Questions, motion.
I'd like. Make a motion to.
All right, you have a motion for approval by Calvin. Is there a second?
I will second.
Someone's got the second.
Does that include my modified number 1?
Yes, I'm sorry.
Condition.
Staff motion, approving modification.
All right, so staff conditions include the modification for approval. All in favor of that motion?
Aye.
In favor. And seeing none opposed, it is approved 4-0. Thank you for your time. That is a wrap. Meeting is adjourned.
Do apologize for being late.